Hey everyone, it's Austin Bach here doing a M15 draft in preparation for GP Salt Lake City, which I'll be attending in about a week or so. And first pack is not very exciting. The most powerful card is probably the Dauntless River Marshal, but it is in kind of two colors if you want to make it work. Whereas here we have a Sanctified Charge, which is one of the better white commons and probably what I'm going to take here. Siege Worm is probably the next on the list of cards I would take out of this pack. This is just a really, really bad pack. I think I would say Sanctified Charge first, then River Marshal, then Siege Worm, as per pick orders. Alright, we have an uncommon missing, which doesn't tell us a ton about this pack. Altic Bloodseeker is decent. Could try to be red-white aggressive. I'm not a fan of the 1 toughness 2 drops because they trade with so much, like Soul Menders and whatnot. I might even consider taking Soul Mender here, second pick. It's not great, but when you have a couple Sanctified Charges, it really doesn't matter what your creatures are as long as they're white and they're cheap. It's also Phyrexian Revoker, which would fit into any deck we end up drafting and can randomly be good sometimes, but usually it's just a Bronze Sable with marginal upside. I guess I'll go ahead and take the Revoker here. It's the safest pick, I'd say. The uncommon's missing, so it could be something like a Cone of Flame, and red ends up not being open, so we'll just take the card that we're guaranteed to be playing. And it's only marginally worse than the Bloodseeker anyway. Well, here there's a Stab Wound, which is one of the better uncommons in the set. I'm not crazy about black, but Stab Wound is one of the few cards that would make me want to be black out of a pack like this. This is a very good pack, though. I would probably take the Sungrace Pegasus if the Stab Wound wasn't here, because I think white is the best color and I would like to be in white, and I think this guy is actually very underrated and actually quite good. But I'm going to take the Stab Wound just because it's so powerful, and it could mean that we move into a different color or a different archetype, but I wouldn't mind being white-black aggressive, depending on how the packs shape up. Pack is not very good. I think I'm just taking a Child of Night. I'm not crazy about the card. I put it just a little bit ahead of Black Cat, which is kind of funny because Black Cat is historically not a great card, but the fact that X1s are in such a hostile environment means that Black Cat is better than usual, because you don't mind if it trades off for a random 1/1 because you'll still get some value. And yeah, not much else to say about that. Runeclaw Bear is probably a little bit better than Child of Night in a vacuum, but given that we have the Stab Wound, I want to stay in black and continue trying to maximize our value from our powerful uncommon. So we've seen, I think this is the second Undergrowth Scavenger we've seen, and we could end up wanting to move into that archetype. The only card that, like, we don't have any cards towards the archetype just yet, but if it looks to be open, we could start moving in. White is most certainly not open, nor is red, and white and red are really the only colors I like. I think those two colors are much stronger than the others, so if we're going to be in like black-green or black-red or whatever, I want to have a focused draft, so I'm going to take the Scavenger and hopefully get the other one back and move into that archetype, but we will see. Alright, pretty easy Ulcerate. This is a premium removal spell. What is this, 6 thick? So that means black is definitely open. So no matter whether or not this self-mill strategy works out or not, we'll have a solid black base to work with. And now I'll take a Satyr Wayfinder, which if we end up sticking with our Scavenger is going to be one of the crucial pieces, and hopefully we get like 2 or 3 more of these. there was a Necromancer's Assistant, I think, in like the first or second pack we opened, so there's a decent chance we wheel that as well, and possibly one of these Unmake the Graves that's been going around. So I'm not too unhappy jumping into this strategy at the moment. This pack this is not our original pack yet. It's between Black Cat and Witch's Familiar, and I'm not sure which is better. I think I'm going to take the Witch's Familiar though, because there's another Black Cat going around that I'm probably going to end up with. I think Witch's Familiar is usually going to be better. Alright, there's that Necromancer's Assistant I was talking about in the first pack. Pretty easy pickup. And we've kind of solidified ourselves into the archetype. Oh, and there you go. That other Undergrowth Scavenger wheeled, so we are definitely in the right place. Passing up on another Assistant, but that's okay. This guy's like pretty much always worse than Satyr Wayfinder anyway, because the 3 power is not too relevant when it only has 1 toughness, so it's not going to be getting in there and being relevant in the board like a huge amount of the time, so I could take another Child of Night here. I think I'm just going to take this Research Assistant. I mean, I'm definitely not playing it, but the fact that it negates all of our 2-drops so far means that we want to take it away from whoever's playing blue. Here's an Make the Graves. Here's another one. Might end up playing both of these, depending on what happens, but we are looking to be in very good shape right now. So let's move on to Pack 2. Pack 2, and we open a pretty nice one in Ob Nixilis. As far as bombs go, Ob Nixilis, he's pretty good. He's going to be like an overcosted air elemental most of the time, but if you get to untap with him, you're going to win a fair amount. The problem is just if you're like significantly behind on the board, he's not going to help a ton. He'll just like help you trade off for their biggest guy, and then you feel like you didn't really use your rare to its fullest potential, but I definitely do not mind having one in my deck, so go ahead and select that and hope our opponent is playing lots of Evolving Wilds. Wow, we get past an Indulgent Tormentor, which is probably the best black rare in the set. So another pretty easy pickup here. Paragon of Open Graves is pretty good too, like depending on how heavily into black we are. But all the Paragons I think generally are fine in any deck, even if you're just like evenly split. This archetype is usually pretty stringent on the number of flex slots you have, because you have to devote cards like Satyr Wayfinder and Necromancer's Assistant to enabling your hitters, so you can't have too much of these unique effects like the Paragons. So I would only end up taking that if I had a deck that specifically wanted it. Alright, interesting choice here between Gravedigger and a 3rd Undergrowth Scavenger. And not negligible is this Festergloom, because I do typically end up wanting at least 1 Festergloom in my deck. But I think I'm going to take the Gravedigger here. Gucci wrote an article on Channel Fireball recently talking about this archetype, and he said usually 2 Scavengers is right where you want to be. So we could take the 3rd. There's also a reasonable chance it wheels, which is not to be forgotten, but I think Gravedigger is going to be a little more important for us. So now pretty much all we're looking for is a couple more Satyr Wayfinders, like ways to fill out our mid-game, and I think we've got a very good deck in the making. Gonna snap off this Flesh to Dust. We've got 2 removal spells right now, both sort of conditional in that they can only kill small things, but Flesh to Dust doesn't really care about the creature it's killing, so go ahead and take that. Alright, got another Undergrowth Scavenger, another Necromancer's Assistant, but I'm actually going to take this Typhoid Rats, because Death Touchers work very well in this archetype as well. We passed up on a Venom Sliver earlier in the draft, I believe. And it's not difficult to pick these up, but it's not easy if you're not paying attention, so I'm just going to take it here, because these are effects we already have. The Assistant is much less important than the Satyr Wayfinder in my opinion, and whether or not we get any more Scavengers I don't really mind too much, so I'm just going to take the Rats now while the going's good. Here I'll take a Carrion Crow over Evolving Wilds and maybe Ranger's Guile to a lesser extent, but one of the weaknesses of this deck is the not Lingering Souls, the Triplicate Spirits deck. Just ways that swarm the air with like cheap 1/1 tokens and whatnot. Cards like Carrion Crow, their stock goes way up when you are looking for ways to shore up the air while you're dominating the ground with fatties like the Scavenger. This pack doesn't have very much for us, so I'm just going to take a Naturalize for the sideboard. It's a card I like having access to, at least one of. Ooh, here's another interesting pick between Restock and Rotfeaster Maggot. Both very, very powerful in this deck. Restock I think I'm going to take just because it's harder to get your hands on than Rotfeaster Maggot. The Maggot is very good, but considering we're seeing 1/8 pick, I have a feeling we're going to see another one in the next pack. And draft guides that I've read for this archetype generally say you only need like one Rotfeaster Maggot. And part of the problem with black in this set is that the 5-drop slot is very, very full. There are a lot of cards you want to fit into it. Like, that's why Bloodhost isn't very good of a card, is because all the other black 5-drops are just better. And we already have a bomb 5-drop over in black, so we don't have to worry about that. Here, I don't really want anything, so I'm just gonna hate draft this Lava Axe, I guess. Doesn't really matter. I'll take Black Cat, and there's a chance I play it. Don't really care about any of these. Ooh, Crippling Blade is a nice pickup. And Necromancer's Assistant. Okay, so that'll wrap up pack number 2, and we'll go into pack 3 with a deck that's already looking pretty solid.